Even if death deprived us of consciousness forever, it would be a wonderful gain, for a deep, dreamless sleep is to be preferred to any day of even the happiest life. I've never been officially diagnosed, and I don't think I need to be. I would say most people in our generation are depressed. Look at the people who resonate most with Gen Z. Billie Eilish, XXXTentacion, I guess Nirvana a bit too. These are all people who were fed up with their lives because the harsh reality of how disappointing life really is settled in and ultimately made them dejected and hopeless about the future. It's been said thousands of times, from popular YouTubers to those random people giving those TED Talks you occasionally watch when you can't sleep at night. But either way, our generation is depressed, and I think some of it has to do with the inescapable nihilism of our time. What do we live for? A good job? A nice house? The next video game console coming out this year? Fuck that. It seems to all go back to consumerism, placing all of our happiness outside of ourselves into material possessions, Instagram followers, and Facebook likes. For me, the worst part about all of this is that even before this year, we didn't even talk to each other that much anyway. Everyone and their mom told us, go out and play with your friends, stop hanging out on Reddit all day, go to a party. But that's not even an option. At least not anymore. It's like we're in a living hell, and it begs the question, what are we even striving for anyway? Happiness? Satisfaction? Both of those things seem to disappear the moment we achieve them. And then, like a drug, it's on to the next fix as we obsess over them, sulking in our disappointment of the present. I've been kind of on a Schopenhauer binge recently. I was never really great at reading philosophy books because of the technical jargon and necessary background knowledge to understand even some of the most rudimentary points. But he writes in a simple style really easily accessible for ADHD types like me. He puts it this way: we feel pain, but not painlessness. Care, but not freedom from care. Fear, but not safety and security. We feel the desire as we feel hunger and thirst, but as soon as it's been satisfied, it's like the mouthful of food which has been taken, which ceases to exist for our feelings the moment it is swallowed. We painfully feel the loss of pleasures and enjoyments before they fail to appear, but when pain ceases, even after being present a long time, their absence is not directly felt. I think many of us are in the midst of experiencing the disappointment of our childhood dreams. We grew up with the rise of the internet, social media, the idea that one day we might become famous and even celebrated for the originality our parents constantly told us about. But in the end, none of that seems to be turning out to be true. Even Schopenhauer writes about this. In early youth, we sit before the impending course of life like children at the theater before the curtain is raised, who sit there in happy and excited expectation of the things that are to come. It is a blessing that we do not know what will actually come, though, for to the man who knows, the children may at times appear to be like innocent delinquents who are condemned not to death, but to life, and have not yet grasped the purport of their sentence. We can regard our life as a uselessly disturbing episode in the blissful repose of nothingness. At all events, even the man who has fared tolerably will become more clearly aware, the longer he lives, that life on the whole is a disappointment. In other words, bears the character of a great mystification or even a fraud. I remember even being 15 writing songs and drawing portraits, believing I'd one day be recognized enough for my talents to amount to something. And then I went on Instagram, met, saw, and followed hundreds of incredibly talented people, and subsequently found out my talents were among millions of others washed away in the rising sea of aspiring artists. The present now was once my esteemed future, and that past of hopefulness remains irrecoverable, a charming memory I may never be able to get back. But I find sort of a freedom in recognizing most of the expectations won't be met. They say hope in some sense is simply ecstasy for the emotions and nothing more. Humans have this magical ability to reflect on the past and future, and he, unlike his animal counterparts, is even aware of his own coming demise. The animal, in Schopenhauer's estimation at least, is the embodiment of the present. He says the animal runs away from death merely instinctively, without really knowing it, and thus without ever actually coming face to face with it, as does man, who always has before him this prospect. And so, although only a few animals die a natural death, most of them get only just enough time to propagate their species, and then, if not earlier, become the prey of some other animal. Animals are much more satisfied than we by mere existence. The animal's life contains less suffering, but also less pleasure than man's. This is due primarily to the fact that it remains free from care and anxiety on the one hand, but is also without real hope on the other. Thus, only in reference to objects that already exist in the moment, in an intuitive perception, does the animal have an extremely short fear and hope, whereas man's consciousness has an intellectual horizon that embraces the whole of life and even goes beyond this. But in consequence, animals, when compared with us, seem to be very wise in one respect, namely in their calm and undisturbed enjoyment of the present moment. The animal is the embodiment of the present. It is just this complete absorption of the present moment, peculiar to animals, which contributes so much to the pleasure we derive from our domestic pets. They are the present moment personified.